From the outside, it looked like just another normal rookie signing, a fifth-round quarterback, confident and skilled, signing his first NFL contract with a team that didn't fully know where he'd fit on the roster. The news stories were nothing special. The money was average for the NFL, but hidden deep in the fine print, in a part most people would skip over, was something that could completely change the balance of power between players and the league forever. If you want the real story and all the complicated twists you never see in highlight reels, hit subscribe. And if you want to follow how this Browns quarterback drama unfolds, you definitely need to subscribe. Shedeur Sanders didn't just sign a rookie deal. He blew up the old plan. On paper, his salary looked like every other fifth-round player's paycheck. Nothing fancy, nothing to make team bosses lose sleep. But Shedeur, guided by a family history that's been changing sports business rules since the early 1990s, didn't care about how it looked. He cared about power, he cared about control, and he cared not just about playing in the NFL, but about playing the business game better than anyone before him. That's where the prime equity clause came in. The clause was simple to read, but huge in impact. Shedeur kept 100% of the rights to his name, image, and likeness, and most importantly, he got 20% of every dollar made from merchandise, sponsorships, and media content connected to his brand, not the team's brand, not the league's brand, his brand. Jerseys with his name, 20%. Special merchandise lines, 20%. Every highlight clip used in official NFL shows that made money. That meant a check sent to Shedeur. This wasn't an accident. It was planned. Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, had spent decades in sports watching athletes become world famous but still be controlled by the leagues they played for. He saw rookies make millions for the NFL in jersey sales, but personally take home only their fixed pay. He saw players become the stars of ad campaigns without owning any rights to their own image. And when Shedeur's turn came, Deion made sure the same thing wouldn't happen. The result in his rookie year, before playing even one regular season game, was massive. Shedeur brought in hundreds of millions in brand-related revenue for the Browns and the NFL. His jersey was one of the best sellers nationwide, not because he was already a big NFL name, but because the Sanders family had built one of the most loyal and active fan bases in sports. And thanks to that prime equity clause, Shedeur didn't have to accept a small symbolic check while the league took all the profit. The reported amount, over $14 million in direct profit going straight to him. Not through the NFL's revenue-sharing system, not limited by salary rules. His fifth-round rookie contract just became one of the most profitable first-year deals in NFL history, all because he owned his brand. The league wasn't ready for it. The NFL has always built its power on controlling the image and identity of its players. They sell the jerseys, they approve the sponsorships, they own the media rights. If a player's highlight goes viral, it's usually the NFL making money, not the player. But Shedeur's contract created a whole new path. He's not just a quarterback. For the Browns, he's his own brand inside the NFL. The effects are already showing. Agents are calling his team, asking how they can get the same clause for their clients. Rookie contract talks for the next draft will be influenced by this example. Because once players see they can double or triple their income just by owning their image, there's no turning back. The pushback from the NFL has been quiet but clear. Leaders worry that if too many players get equity clauses, the league's control over merchandising could break apart. Imagine a dozen rookies, each, owning their own jersey sales. Suddenly, the NFL's profit from selling merchandise would shrink, and teams would have less power when promoting their own stars. For Shedeur, though, this isn't a problem. This is exactly what he planned. He's not trying to destroy the system, he's trying to improve it. In interviews, he's already said that athletes should think of themselves as CEOs, not just employees. Playing quarterback might be his job, but his business is Shedeur Sanders Incorporated. This isn't just about money, it's about freedom. Freedom to sign sponsorships without the league stepping in. Freedom to make his own media YouTube series, documentaries, short videos, and make money from it directly. Freedom to build a brand that lasts longer than his NFL career. Just like his father did with sponsorships and TV, and that's the part the league fears most: lasting influence. When a player owns their brand, the NFL is just one part of Their story, not the whole thing. That's a shift in power the league has been fighting against for decades. But here's the thing. Shedeur is perfectly built for this. His time playing college football at Colorado wasn't just about the game. It was a masterclass in how a modern athlete should market themselves. He made content, connected with fans, and built a personality bigger than his stats. He entered the NFL already with a complete audience. And instead of giving that audience to the league, he kept it. Now, the question is, how far can this model go? Could we see an NFL where players ask for partial ownership of the team merchandise they help sell? Could future stars avoid the usual marketing system and build sports brands that go directly to fans? If Shedeur keeps winning with this model, the answer could be yes. Already, big sponsors are lining up, not through the Browns, but directly through his own channels. Energy drink deals, clothing lines, content partnerships, because when a company signs Shedeur, they're not just getting an NFL player. They're getting the full Sanders machine, the built-in fan base, the Coach Prime connection, and the ability to avoid league limits and create marketing that feels real, not corporate. Inside the Browns organization, this has created an unusual situation. On one side, the team enjoys the extra attention, ticket sales, merchandise, and media buzz. On the other side, they know Shedeur's value doesn't depend on them, and that's rare in pro sports. Most rookies need the team's platform to become famous. Shedeur brought his own platform with him. And make no mistake, this wasn't random. This was negotiation. Most rookie contracts are cookie-cutter deals copied from standard league forms. The prime equity clause was fought for, written, and protected before signing. That's why in some parts of the league, people call Shedeur's contract the Sanders precedent. If history is a guide, he won't be the last. The NBA already has stars like LeBron James and Kevin Durant running big businesses alongside their careers. In soccer, global icons like Messi and Ronaldo are brands first, athletes second. The NFL has been slower to change, but Shedeur just sped things up. The rumors started as soon as details of Shedeur's contract leaked. In NFL offices, where rookie signings are normally just boring paperwork, there was suddenly a new kind of energy, a mix of shock, curiosity, and in some cases, panic. General managers sent each other short text messages. "Did you see this Sanders clause?" Agents called the NFL Players Association to ask if a deal like this was even allowed under the current contract rules, and marketing departments. They started scrambling, wondering if this meant they'd have to share money from revenue sources they thought were theirs alone. The NFL, as a business, is built on the idea that the Shield, the league's brand, comes before any one player. Sure, they promote stars, but those stars have to fit inside the system the league controls. Shedeur's deal broke that system open, and it wasn't just a small break. It was like a small crack that can spread fast if you're not careful. Inside the NFL Players Association offices, the reaction was different. They saw opportunity. Player representatives had been pushing for years to give athletes more control over their likeness and merchandise money, but the league had always resisted. Now, one rookie quarterback had pulled it off without a full labor fight. Some in the union saw Shedeur's clause as proof it could be done, a test case they could point to in the next big contract negotiations. But the league's lawyers were already working on the other side, figuring out how to make sure this didn't become common. They knew the next draft class would be paying attention. If even a few top rookies asked for the same kind of clause, the whole merchandise, the system could change overnight. That would mean less control over branding, fewer exclusive deals the league could make without player approval, and a cut in shared revenue. In other words, less power. Meanwhile, for the players, the ripple effect was already starting. Veterans, in locker rooms all over the league, were pulling younger teammates aside to talk business. Wide receivers who had sold thousands of jerseys but never made a penny beyond their base pay were suddenly asking their agents why they didn't have equity clauses. Defensive stars with big social media followings began thinking about how they could turn their audience into direct income without the league taking a share. And for new rookies, Shedeur had just given them a game plan. Agents started studying the exact wording of his deal, ready to use it as a bargaining tool in future talks. Some were already telling their college players, "We're going to push for a Sanders-style clause." That term, Sanders-style clause, spread quickly. the kind of insider phrase that would soon become normal in NFL business talk. For his part, wasn't shy about the bigger picture. In interviews, he kept focusing on the idea of player empowerment. "If you don't own your name, you don't own your work," he told one local reporter. That wasn't just a catchy line, it was his mission. He knew exactly what he had done, and he wasn't going to let the story fade away in the news cycle. The Browns, stuck in the middle, had to handle things carefully. In public, they praised Shedeur for his focus, maturity, and potential on the field. In private, they dealt with the fact that their rookie quarterback had a brand bigger than the team's own marketing machine. Normally, when a player's fame explodes, the team benefits most. But with Shedeur, that benefit was shared, and the team wasn't used to sharing. Inside the locker room, it was different. His teammates weren't jealous of his business success. They respected it. Some even came to him for advice. How do you negotiate for media rights? How do you build a brand that lasts after football? Shedeur didn't keep the answers to himself. He enjoyed explaining how his dad had taught him to think like a CEO while still training like an athlete. And here's the thing. This wasn't just possible money. It was real money, and a lot of it. Shedeur's personal brand channels, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, were already making income and doing well. With the NFL spotlight, those numbers tripled. And because he owned the rights, every highlight clip that went viral on his pages paid him, not the league. Every time a fan bought a Sanders jersey from an official store, part of the sale went directly to him. Sponsors loved this setup. Unlike other rookies, where the team or league had to be involved, Shedeur could deal with companies directly. That meant more genuine partnerships and faster campaign launches. Within months, he had deals with brands outside the NFL's usual group, tech companies, fashion brands, even a streaming service working on a docu-series. In his rookie year, the NFL's marketing executives couldn't ignore it. They had spent years perfecting a one-size-fits-all system for player branding, and here was a player who didn't need it and was possibly doing it better. That was risky. If Shedeur's model proved it could last, the league might have to rethink how it handled every player who could make big money from their image. The first real sign of pushback came at the yearly owners' meeting. Several executives spoke up about unusual contract terms that could mess with revenue sharing. The talk was careful. They didn't want to seem like they were attacking one player, but everyone in the room knew they meant Shedeur Sanders. The NFL runs on sameness, and he was anything but the same. Back in Cleveland, Shedeur wasn't slowing down. On the field, his performance made it impossible to see him as only a business story. The same confidence he had at the negotiating table was showing up behind center, leading the huddle, reading defenses, and making throws that reminded fans why his name was famous before he even stepped into the NFL. That mix elite branding off the field and sharp play on it was exactly why the NFL was nervous. Most players have one or the other. A star with both is leverage the league can't control. Then came the moment that made every NFL owner take notice. A merchandise report leaked showing Shedeur's jersey had outsold several Pro Bowl players. In just his first month, that alone was a good headline. But the hidden detail was the shocker because of the prime equity clause. His personal earnings from those sales were higher than his entire rookie salary. The numbers were clear. The old system, a rookie quarterback, needed years of playing time, sponsorships, and playoff runs to make that kind of money. Shedeur did it in weeks. By now, rival general managers were making plans. Some were curious, wondering if they could lure free agents by offering similar clauses. Others were scared of the precedent. A few even suggested lobbying the NFL to ban such clauses in future deals, using competitive balance as the excuse Shedeur's team wasn't worried. They knew that once the door was open, it would be hard for the league to shut it without looking like they were against players. Public opinion was firmly with him. Fans loved the idea of athletes owning their work, and the media was calling him a trailblazer. By mid-season, the phrase Sanders Clause wasn't just insider talk. It had become a rallying cry for agents. At the NFL Combine, in the quiet corners of hotel lobbies where executives, scouts, and agents chatted over overpriced drinks, the conversation kept coming back to Shedeur. Not his arm strength, not his rookie stats, not his QB rating. Always the same question in a low voice. Did you hear how much he's making off merch? the numbers had taken on a legendary feel. Over $250 million in Sanders-branded merchandise sales across the league. $14 million of that going straight into his bank account. This wasn't supposed to happen, not under the strict structure of rookie contracts, but there he was, proving that what was once thought impossible wasn't just possible, it was profitable. What worried the league even more was that Shedeur wasn't acting like this was a one-time thing. He wasn't quietly taking the money. He was speaking about it openly, strategically, and in a way that put new ideas into the heads of every young athlete paying attention. On a Thursday night player podcast hosted by two former All-Pros, Shedeur delivered what became his most replayed quote of the season. "They tell you to focus on football and let the rest take care of itself. But if you don't take care of your business, someone else will, and it won't be you getting paid." That line hit the NFL like a meteor. Older players who had spent their careers under the league's strict branding control felt a mix of respect and frustration. Younger players, still on rookie deals or just starting in the league, felt something different, opportunity. And with opportunity came pressure. The NFLPA started getting calls from agents asking for official contract language in the next collective bargaining agreement that would let players carve out personal equity rights. It was too soon to know if it would happen, but the union was definitely paying attention. In private, one union executive even admitted that what Sanders had done might be the most important contract move since the rookie wage scale was introduced. Meanwhile, inside the Browns facility, Shedeur's influence was spreading into areas no rookie had any reason to reach. Marketing meetings began adjusting the team's promotional schedule to match his personal brand calendar. The social media team had to coordinate with his content crew so their announcements didn't overlap. Even the equipment staff noticed. Changes orders for custom Sanders gear were pouring in from all over the country. Not just Ohio. The front office was divided. Some saw it as a headache. Others saw it as the future. GM Andrew, who had pushed hard to draft Shedeur, saw it as proof he'd been right. His bet wasn't just on a quarterback. It was on a quarterback who could redefine what it meant to be valuable to a team. But ownership was more complicated. Jimmy Haslam had famously distanced himself from the pick early on, calling it Barry's project, not his. Now, with Sanders' success impossible to ignore, Haslam had a decision to make: fully back him, or risk looking like he was against the face of his own team. Publicly, Haslam began softening his tone. In interviews, he spoke about Sanders' unique style and business sense, while still slipping in reminders about the importance of winning games. Privately, people inside the organization said he was being very careful, praising the money Sanders brought in, while also watching closely to see if his off-field empire might take away from the Browns' control. And make no mistake, control was the real issue. For decades, the NFL had mastered controlling the story. A player could be a star, but the league was always the stage. Shedeur flipped that completely. Now the stage was him, and the NFL was just one of the platforms he used. That subtle shift in power made the establishment nervous. And it wasn't only the NFL paying attention, big companies were watching too. Shedeur's sponsorships reached into areas the league couldn't touch. Luxury brands, streaming services, and tech startups wanted to work with him. Not because he played for the Browns, but because he was Shedeur Sanders, a brand with his own built-in audience. The Browns' Week 10 game against a division rival was the perfect example of his model at work. Just hours before kickoff, Shedur's personal YouTube channel released a behind-the-scenes documentary of his week of preparation. It showed film study, mic'd-up practice clips, and real locker room moments. The video got millions of views before he even stepped on the field. That night, wearing a custom visor and brand-new cleats from one of his sponsors, Shedeur threw for more than 300 yards and led a game-winning drive in the fourth quarter. The NFL showed the highlights, but so did he, on his own channels, they just wanted more. By the end of the season, the quiet whispers in NFL hotel lobbies had become open conversations. Some agents were already telling teams, "My client wants a Sanders clause." The league office, worried about setting a precedent, began planning a quiet push to convince owners to resist. The next turning point came at the NFL draft in April. Sitting in the green room, a projected top 10 pick in the upcoming class was overheard telling his agent, "If they don't give me what Shedeur got, I'll wait." That comment hit social media within hours, and by the end of the night, it was trending. The NFL tried to downplay the idea that Sanders' deal was influencing rookies, but it was too late. The brand ownership debate was no longer just a niche topic for agents. It had become part of the sports media conversation. Even other leagues began to notice. The NBA, where players have historically had more freedom over their image and personal branding, started drawing comparisons. One basketball analyst tweeted, "The NFL is finally getting its LeBron moment," directly comparing Sanders' approach to how NBA superstars had built their own stories and business empires. For Shedeur, none of this seemed to shake him. At least on the outside, his focus was still on football. But people close to him knew he was thinking long-term. Every interview, every sponsor post, every carefully planned piece of content was part of his bigger plan. It wasn't just about being a starting quarterback, it was about making sure that when his football career ended, he would still control his name and his story. And maybe the most telling sign of all, the NFL itself started quietly studying him. Executives who had once brushed off the clause as a rookie gimmick were now asking for full reports on his income, social media engagement, and fanbase data. They didn't like the example he was setting, but they couldn't ignore the success. The league might still own the shield, but for the first time in a long while, it was clear that one player had built something strong enough to stand beside it, not under it.